I'm your host, Nick Toka, and congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl yesterday, taking down the Juggernaut Chiefs. It was a good show if you were a Philly fan. A little surprising game, but I definitely was going for the underdog, and I've even changed my ARGB here. You see my screen and keyboard and everything to Philly green today. Also, Bitcoin's pumping a bit. On today's show, British Bitcoin miner Waze buying landfill to recover his $768 million of Bitcoin. Also, U.S. foundations and universities begin accumulating Bitcoin amid President Trump's crypto promises. Also, Michael Saylor's strategy hits Bitcoin buy button again after a breather. GameStop shares gain 6% among Bitcoin adoption rumors. And our feature story of the day, why Bitcoin is less likely to be spooked by Trump trade tactic and trade wars. All this and so much more on today's show. Welcome, fam, to Crypto News Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka. Today is February 10th, 2025. And congratulations again to the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the Super Bowl yesterday. It was fun. President Trump got a huge ovation during the national anthem, and not so much for Taylor Swift. So it was good to see where the citizens' minds were once and for all behind capitalism and not behind, woke media anymore. So it was kind of fun to watch. Bitcoin today is definitely up a little bit, and we're going to get definitely into our market watch, a Bitcoin technical analysis, and later on we're going to get into our stories. So let's get right into it, folks. Currently, Bitcoin is up about 1.5% at 97. We'll call it 98,000. Ethereum up 2.5% at 2,700. Solana down 0.5% at $202. XRP up 2%, $2.45. Doge up 3% at 26 cents. And we've got Shiba up just almost sideways at, 4 zeros, 0.4 zeros and 1/6. So still not the big booming bull market we have been waiting for, but I feel it. I feel it coming, folks. Let's move into our crypto bubbles and see what the day brings. And today we have Hex up another 22%, Ray up 13%. Mostly everything in the green today. Virtual up 11.5%. Algo up 5%. Litecoin up 10%. Neo up 6.5%. Let's zoom out to the weekly. And we see in the weekly we still have a bunch of red everywhere. We've got Ultima up 33%. PLSX up 35%. Hex up 60% for the week. For the month, we still have the XCN coin, but now for the month it's showing up only 775%. It was up, as the days pass, the month timing of the month also changes. So the past couple weeks haven't been great for this XCN or the whole market. So you're seeing that 1,200 is now 700%. Pepe down 45%. We have a lot of things in the red. Floki down 40%. Virtual down 57%. AVAX 30%. Python 38%. Near Protocol 35%. And the list goes on. The crypto market cap right now, we have Bitcoin at $1.94 trillion. Ethereum at $325 billion. XRP at 141 billion, Solana 98 billion, Doge at 38 billion, Cardano 26 billion, and Tron to wrap up the top 10 at $21 billion. Current market cap is 3.16 trillion, with Bitcoin owning 61.5% of the total crypto market. Ethereum down again, currently at 10.3%, XRP at 4.5%, and Solana at 3.12%. And right now we are sitting at a neutral in terms of the crypto fear and greed index. Yesterday was a 46, last week was a 44. So we're seeing a lot of these in the 40s. And what's interesting is Bitcoin is still at $97, and all we're seeing is neutral fear. And imagine a year ago with Bitcoin at, just over 40 something. Then it was a greed, right? So how the times have changed. Bitcoin halving countdown. We have approximately 1,100 days until the next Bitcoin halving in 2028. There are 166,764 blocks left to mine until that time. And until the year 2140, there are 1,177,388 blocks left to mine until the final block is mined. Top assets by market cap, we have gold up again, getting close to that 20 trillion mark, 19.774 trillion. Apple at number 2, 3.4 trillion. Nvidia, 3.27 trillion. Microsoft, 3 trillion even. Amazon, 2.47 trillion. Google, 2.28 trillion, pardon me. Bitcoin at the 1.929 trillion, silver behind them, 1.829, Facebook 1.817, and Saudi Aramco 1.789, followed by number 11, 1.128 trillion, which is Tesla. And currently you can get 1,025 Satoshis for one fiat US dollar. And if we go to our U.S. debt clock, we see the clock keeps on ticking and up she goes. Currently at $36,463,909,000,000, which equals to $107,165 per U.S. citizen, and that is $323,046 per taxpayer. The big news of yesterday was definitely the Super Bowl. Everybody was watching. The commercials were not as woke as they have been for a very, very long time. It was more of a normal kind of back to usual. It's almost like, what is taboo now? It used to be taboo was blue hair and a pierced nose. Now, with all this wokeness, taboo is, married with a family. This is the norms have come back. So kind of interesting. I like the way things are going again, back to normal. Let the good times roll, folks, because this is really, what built the world. So let's go back to the basics and get things straight yet again, back to the way they used to be. And I think everybody's tired of all this wokeness and all this left. And, what's most important, let's face it, are families. Sure, there's these outlier things, and I don't have a problem, and most people don't have any kind of issue with these outlying things that face society, gay rights, LGBTQ plus, but it's an outlying issue and not the main thing that people think about and people want to talk about. It's just, again, an outlying issue, and some people care, but not as many people care than what they kind of made everybody believe all these years during the Biden administration, that pushed this narrative through the media, forced down everybody's throat. So now we're back to normal. Now we've got guys jumping in the dumpster, looking for their Bitcoin. This is more like it. We covered this story a few weeks back, and the British guy was who threw his laptop in the garbage, went to court, and they denied him access to go into this recycle yard or garbage yard to try and recover his Bitcoin, which currently has approximately $768 million. He offered to give the government, I think it was half of what he was able to get out of it, but they still denied him. So there's more to this story now, and this gets really ridiculous. James Howell is considering buying a public landfill where he claims a massive Bitcoin fortune might be buried, but local authorities plan to shut down the site after a court battle. So this is the ridiculous part. First, they told him, no, we can't let you in there because it's unsafe for you and it's unsafe for the citizens. Meanwhile, they closed the place down, or they're trying to close the place down. Despite a court dismissal last month, early Bitcoin miner James Howell is considering purchasing the landfill where he believes his lost cryptocurrency, now worth over $768 million US, is buried. The Newport, South Wales resident sought a court order to excavate the site or receive $900 million in compensation from the Newport City Council. Howell's claim revolves around a hard drive that his former partner allegedly discarded in 2013 in the landfill. The device is said to contain 7,500 Bitcoin, which Howell mined in 2019 when Bitcoin was new and traded for mere pennies. The computer engineer has repeatedly petitioned or sued Newport authorities for access to the site, offering the council a share of the fortune in return. The landfill contains over 1.4 million tons of waste, but Howells asserts that his drive is likely buried within a 100,000-ton area, citing an investigation conducted by a team he hired. In response, Newport City Council asked the High Court to dismiss Howell's claim, arguing that the local laws grant the government rights over any property that enters the landfill. Judge Andrew John Kaiser ruled against Howell's, stating that his claims were insufficient and that too much time had passed. Authorities also plan to close the site during the 2025-2026 fiscal year and convert sections into a solar farm. So there you have it. Sorry, you can't come in because we're closing it to build a solar farm. And what's interesting is finding his Bitcoin and giving, let's say, half would pay for that entire solar farm. Howells expressed shock to the BBC upon hearing the news that they were going to close this thing down, especially since it claimed at the High Court that closing the landfill to allow me to search would have a huge detrimental impact on the people of Newport. What a sham. More shenanigans by the authorities, eh? According to the report, Howell is considering escalating the case to the Supreme Court and has not ruled out purchasing the landfill outright. He believes the lost funds could reach a $1.2 billion valuation by 2026 if Bitcoin continues its uptrend. So this poor British bloke is SOL, isn't he? Lost his Bitcoin. His girlfriend threw out his hard drive. Wow. I'm sure it's his ex-girlfriend now. But that's just crazy. Almost $1 billion. And they won't let him recover it, which is the worst part. And then, no, you can't go back in there because it's not safe for citizens. And then to close it down, but yet they're going to shut it down altogether. Some other kind of cool news is since Trump has announced that he's a more crypto-friendly president, we have lots of different factions buying the biddy. We also have universities, colleges starting to accumulate Bitcoin amid President Trump's crypto promise, says a report. President Donald Trump's pro-crypto sentiment is reportedly fueling the accumulation of Bitcoin by U.S. charities and universities. And why not? It's smart. According to a new report by the Financial Times, Trump's promises to make the U.S. crypto powerhouse have triggered foundations and universities in the nation to gobble up the top crypto asset by market cap. Notable schools that are getting exposure to the flagship digital asset include the University of Austin and Emory University in Georgia. Meanwhile, the philanthropic group, the Rockefeller Foundation, is also mulling increasing its stash of crypto assets. Says Chun Lei, the Rockefeller Foundation CIO. We don't have a crystal ball on how cryptocurrencies will become in 10 years. We don't want to be left behind when their potential materializes dramatically. That's what I keep saying. This FOMO starting to hit everybody. The crypto space is associated with the artificial intelligence space and the level of digitization of the economy. Cryptocurrencies can be useful if the economy becomes more digitized. Chad Thevenet, Senior Vice President for Advancement at the University of Austin, says the university views investing in crypto assets the same way it sees investing in other asset classes. We think there's a long-term value there, just the same way we might think there is a long-term value in stocks or real estate. Precisely. The University of Austin, which opened its doors just last year, is raising a $5 million BTC fund. However, other universities such as the University of Nebraska are taking a more heedful approach to the digital assets. Brian Neal, CIO of University of Nebraska Foundation, says that he does not plan to jump into Bitcoin and crypto until clear rules of the road are established and more of his counterparts decide to invest in the asset class. Now, there's a guy who's going to be left behind. I think this administration has the power to move things in that direction, but I don't think just the President of the United States issuing his own cryptocurrency is really going to be the catalyst that is going to move things to the mainstream. Well, clearly he hasn't followed the news, and even the mainstream. Maybe he's only following the Main Street news because we all know that President Trump's already signed an executive order to investigate, to see. He put his AI and crypto czar, I think his name's David Carr, in charge of giving him 180 days to determine if it is a good idea to put money into Bitcoin and create a Bitcoin U.S. reserve. And he's gone on the record, the crypto czar, to say that it's a priority and that's one of the first things they're going to look at, and they're just waiting for the final appointments of some of the senators to get the ball rolling. And he said that's one of the first things we're going to check is to see if we should make a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Also, many of the states, as we've covered, have also created a Bitcoin reserve. They've passed bills, and they're just in the final signing process in the Senate to start being allowed to do this legit state by state. So they're going to end up front running potentially even the national government. Somebody who's definitely front running everybody, and he only started in 2020, even though he was they tried to orange pill him in it was Max Kaiser in 2016 or 2014, and he just listened to the FUD and said no. But now he's definitely changed his tune since 2020, and he's front running everybody, and that would be Michael Saylor, who now hit the buy button again after a breather of 1 week, and the newly branded company has come back to buy the cryptocurrency after a $742 million purchase last week. Software company Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, resumed its buying last week after taking a breather following a 12-week, 20 billion shopping spree. Yeah, 12 weeks in a row he was buying. Last week was the first week that he didn't buy anything, but he's back into it now. The company, which trades on the Nasdaq under the ticker MSTR, said Monday that it had spent another $742 million buying 7,633 orange coins between February 3rd and February 9th. Strategy has been so consistent buying Bitcoin for 12 weeks straight that it drew some attention when the last week of January the company didn't buy any of the world's oldest and largest cryptocurrency by capitalization. Now, I feel like they didn't buy anything because in the fourth quarter of last year, the reports came out and they lost $640 million. Last week, MicroStrategy did not sell any shares of Class A common stock under its at-the-market equity offering program and did not purchase any Bitcoin, Saylor wrote on X at the time. But after jumping back into action last week, the firm now holds 478,740 BTC. That's a stash worth $46.5 billion at today's price of $97,500, according to CoinGecko. Yeah, so I mean, if this goes up to 110, so we'll call it, 10 back to price discovery or record highs, then add another 0 to 478, he's going to be over the 50 billion part mark at that point easily. The Tysons, Virginia-based company, last year announced a 21-21 plan to raise $42 billion to buy Bitcoin. The plan means the firm will raise $21 billion via equity, with another $21 billion coming by selling fixed income securities. On average, the company spent $65,000 per Bitcoin. A filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission shows. Strategy last week rebranded as part of what it says was a natural evolution to become more Bitcoin focused, according to its co-founder and chairman, Michael Saylor. Under Saylor, the formerly sleepy software company started buying Bitcoin in August 2020 as a hedge against inflation. Its stock shot up over 2,200% since then as investors buy shares in the company to get exposure to Bitcoin, and the firm works mainly on securitizing the cryptocurrency. Strategy is now a member of the NASDAQ 100 index of the top 100 non-financial companies on the NASDAQ stock market, alongside tech giants like Apple and Microsoft. But as Strategy's valuation rockets, some analysts have warned that the company's bet on Bitcoin isn't sustainable. Yeah, the naysayers, it's always like that. I'm sure in 2020, if we look back, they were telling him he was an idiot for buying Bitcoin. And here he is. And there's another company that is rocketing forward, and they have also been in talks with Michael Saylor, I believe, last week. So there's rumors going around that GameStop is going to be adopting Bitcoin as a treasury reserve. There were public meetings, closed-door meetings with Saylor and the CEO or the stakeholders of GameStop, and it became public, and already just the news of those guys talking. GameStop shares gained 6% amid Bitcoin adoption rumors. GameStop shares jumped Monday after CEO Ryan Cohen posted a photo with Strategy co-founder Michael Saylor, fueling Bitcoin-related speculation. GameStop shares jumped nearly 7% on Monday morning after the firm's executive Ryan Cohen shared a photo with Michael Saylor, co-founder of Strategy, on X. As of press time, GameStop, GEE, is the ticker. Shares are trading at $26.39, up 6.7% per data from Google Finance. And here's the photo. He kind of looks like a gaming nerd, doesn't he? Cohen's X contained no information, leading to speculation that GameStop might be looking into something related to Bitcoin as a strategy, reignited investors' interest after it started its buying spree of Bitcoin. Cohen didn't reveal why he met with Saylor. Why else would he be talking to Saylor? I mean, if anything, let's say they just wanted to talk about, the presidency or the weather. You don't think that Saylor would have talked a little bit about Bitcoin with this guy? I mean, that's all that Saylor does. GameStop also made no public statements on the matter at the time of writing. GameStop trying to find positive momentum. Back in 2021, GameStop became a top meme stock when retail traders drove up its price, putting pressure on short sellers. Those who had bet against the stock were forced to buy shares to cut their losses. One of the biggest casualties was Melvin Capital, a hedge fund that had heavily shorted GameStop and ended up losing around $7 billion. Yeah, short the huge gaming industry. Brilliant, buddy. And still, despite Monday's jump, GameStop shares weren't going good lately. Data from Google Finance shows GME has been down nearly 14% so far in 2025 as investors remain uncertain about the company's future, given that it has been working to move away from its traditional video game retail business. Well, interesting and good on them. So I feel like when a company is having a bit of a downturn, what do they do to pick up their company? It's like clockwork. Suddenly you announce you're going to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Hey, we're creating a Bitcoin treasury reserve, and your stock pumps. So, pretty interesting. And there were last week the opposite of the pumpage, friends, that definitely turned the market bearish. And what had happened was the Trump tariff war, or supposed tariff wars, with Canada and Mexico. Then they struck a deal to not have any tariffs. It was going to be a 25% tariff on everything. And then they struck a deal to not levy tariffs on each other for 1 month. And things kind of subsided. But the day that the tariffs, or the day before the tariffs were going to be instituted, Bitcoin was at its lowest price that it's been in a long, long time, and it got down to $90,000 even when I was watching the chart. And of course, I bought the dip, and I'm sure a lot of people did, and it's rebounded, but it was sitting at about the 102, 105 range pretty consistently. Then it pumped up to about 109.5 on the day of the inauguration, and things were still sitting at about 105, 102, very narrow range, until these tariffs came into place, and boom, just like that, down to 90K all in one shot. So I have some more tariff news, because now we're seeing new tariffs. So Trump announced he's going to put a blanket 25% tariffs on steel from the entire world. But we didn't see the market move very much. In fact, we saw the market pump a little bit today. So why is Bitcoin less likely to be spooked by Trump trade tactics? The president's Super Bowl pregame ultimatum hardly dented Bitcoin's price. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Bitcoin price moving might of President Donald Trump's trade tactics appears to be fading. Yep. The president's threat to slap tariffs on Canadian, Mexican, and Chinese imports dropped Bitcoin's price to $93,000 a week ago, but his latest policy remarks caused far less chaos. It went to 90K. I don't care what any of these guys say. I definitely saw it live at exactly 90,000. On his way to watch Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, Trump promised that his administration would unveil 25% levies on aluminum and steel imports from all countries on Monday. How soon the measures could be imposed was still unclear as of Monday morning, New York time. Despite signaling trade tensions could further escalate after an already tumultuous stretch, U.S. stocks opened higher as shares of U.S. steel manufacturers jumped. Bitcoin's price dipped as low as 94,700 on Sunday night, but it then climbed back to 97.7 by Monday's opening bell. With broader markets largely unfazed by Trump's pre-game ultimatum, it appears fears linked to his potential trade moves are fading. Tom Dunleavy, a partner at MV Global, told Decrypt, "The market is starting to see through Trump's tactics," he said. "If we look at his past administration, a small portion of the initial headline tariffs were actually enacted. Over the past couple of weeks, Trump's use of tariffs as a negotiating tool with the U.S. trading partners has drawn heightened attention from market participants. Whether that's because of their immediate impact on liquidity conditions or an ability to influence the Federal Reserve. The U.S. Central Bank signaled at its December policy meeting that it's monitoring how potential shifts in trade policy could impact its inflation outlook. If tariffs contribute to inflation, that could encourage Fed policymakers to keep interest rates higher for longer." At one point, Trump's administration seemed set on universal tariffs that would be applied broadly. On Sunday, however, Trump said that a set of reciprocal tariffs would be unveiled later this week, which would only target nations currently imposing levies on American goods. "This distraction is important," Jeff Kendrick, global head of digital asset research at Standard Chartered, told Decrypt. "Reciprocal tariffs would be less inflationary, and they would take longer to impose than universal ones," he said, calling Trump's latest remarks a notable shift. "If a step away from bad Trump, and markets are tentatively acknowledging that," he said. When Trump's trade tactics rattled markets a week ago, analysts pointed to other potential pitfalls that could arise. Trump has, in recent months, flooded tariffs in European Union members or BRICS nations that are trying to abandon the U.S. dollar in trade and finance. Though Trump's administration moved forward with a 10% levy on Chinese products, Mexico and Canada were able to strike deals avoiding sweeping trade disruptions in North America. According to Jake Ostrovskis, an OTC over-the-counter trader at Wintermute, Trump's relationship with China warrants watching, but his remarks on steel and aluminum were still a meaningful dud. This kind of news failure suggests that the narrative is losing traction as a key market driver. He wrote Monday in a Monday note, "At this stage, I believe the only development with real market moving potential would be an escalation in the U.S. and China tensions." Well, this makes sense because if everybody remembers the last bull market, crypto cycle, Bitcoin cycle, there was a dude named Elon Musk, and he was big on Doge, and every time he mentioned the word Doge would pump. There'd be a huge pump in the market. Every time he didn't mention it, Doge was down. But after a while, it got to the point where nobody cared what he said anymore because it was just so abundant in the news that everybody just kind of said, whatever. Okay, he's talking about Doge again. Okay, he's talking about crypto. Oh, okay, now he's going to accept Bitcoin for his Tesla cars. Oh, now he's taking it away. Oh, now he's accepting only Doge. Oh, now he's, so at first, amazing, richest man in the world, going to start accepting Bitcoin for his cars. Pump, 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 pump. I'm going to buy Doge. Pump, 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 pump. I go on Saturday Night Live and talk about Doge. And, his mom asks, what'd you get for my birthday? It's not the Doge, is it? Yes, it sure is, Mom. So it was all over the news. And it got to the point where it was just so over the top that the market stopped caring. So I feel like it's starting to be similar again with Trump. And make no mistake, I really like what he's doing down there. He's cleaning shop, and he's getting rid of the overhead, the abundant and irresponsible spending of taxpayers' money. And, everybody knew that they're paying tax just for somebody else, the bureaucrats, to decide where this money is spent. And then further to that, they're certainly finding that this money is mismanaged and not spent in, we'll call it, ethical ways. Now, on our side, guys, we want to be very ethical with our money. We want 100% financial literacy growth. We want to spend our money wisely. And once we start doing that, we realize that money is going to start being abundant for everybody. What's not abundant is time. Time is very scarce. So spend your time wisely and stop putting money into banks' pockets. Stop paying interest to banks. I mean, clearly, if you owe it, you have to pay it. But what I mean is, before you think about, I'm going to get another credit card. I'm going to get a line of credit. I'm going to buy a house that's massive instead of a house that I can afford. Think about the long-term ramifications it has on your finances, and do the modest thing. You can have a modest house. You can have a modest car. You can have a credit card that you don't actually use. Pay off your debts. Get rid of all these debts. Use the money that you used to pay on your debts. Use it to pay into your financial savings. Use a portion for Bitcoin. Use a portion for traditional finance. And before you know it, you will start to be very, very financially independent and financially savvy. On top of that, the more you learn, the easier it is to save, and you'll only thank yourself. Don't rely on your financial institution to, hey, I have a financial planner, they're doing everything well. What they're really doing is they're padding their own pockets by taking a good percentage of what could have been yours. So, keep watching the show. Hopefully you learned a thing or two, a little tip here, a little tip there. I'll try to add some things in when I can toward the end of the show. But please do start saving when you're young. And if you start saving when, in your early 20s, hopefully you can retire when you're 40 or 45 and not have to wait until you're 65, 70 to retire. And if you've got a great idea, this is how things are going to come together for you. Start that idea today. Don't push it off until tomorrow, because tomorrow's never going to come. It's better to start your idea, fail a couple times, learn from those mistakes, and refine things. And you'll see that just starting is the hardest part. Things are never going to be perfect. Hopefully you found the stream enjoyable, folks. I'm on a mission to 500 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It's going to go a long way in keeping the show running. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we shall see you on the next stream. Thanks for joining.